Bam, and we're live here at the Mo Summit with Daniel Nicholson, the president and CEO of NadaMoo. Daniel, this Really Is Live broadcast is brought to you by Big Path Capital, the leading impact investment bank that assists in company raises, or capital raises, company exits, and founder liquidity. So, Daniel, what brings you to the Mo Summit?
So first off, I think I was really excited to come to Asheville in general to try all the beer at all the different breweries. I think that was a big exciting driver of the trip. But in all honesty, I heard about the summit through one of our investors, and they told me about this great momentum summit where they were bringing CEOs together of different impact companies, and there were going to be capital partners there, and it just seemed like a great networking opportunity to find out what else is going on within the impact space, whether you're a brand or an investor or a service-based entity that focuses on those types of things. It just seems like a great place to be, and I feel like Asheville's the perfect setting for it.
So you came for the beer, but you don't make beer. You make a coconut milk ice cream. Tell me about it. What is NadaMoo?
Yeah, so we were the very first to market coconut milk based ice cream product. So who we are? I mean, we're a dairy-free brand, hence the name NadaMoo. It means no dairy, no cow. And yeah, we've been doing it since 2005. We just saw this opportunity in the market way back then, before dairy-free or plant-based became what we now know it as. It's this big market and this big opportunity. But we, back in 2005, as some of the pioneers of the category, I think we just saw that nobody had really used the right dairy alternative base yet. Before us, there was soy milk ice cream products. There was almond milk based ice cream products. There was rice milk based ice cream products. And I think one thing our founder recognized was that the saturated fat content in the coconut milk would probably provide the best dairy alternative in that ice cream application. And so, way ahead of the curve with respect to the category, but we still are pretty proud to own what we believe is the taste leader in a very fast growing category.
Coconut milk. What are some of the health benefits of it?
It does have high saturated fat content, but it is plant-based saturated fat, so your body has a much easier time processing plant-based fat rather than a saturated fat that comes from animals. There's that. It's a medium chain fatty acid, and our bodies can consume that fat pretty easily. And there's a lot of additional properties to coconut, to the coconut in general. It has a lot of hydration properties. It's good for your skin. I think for us, really, it's the way we see it is the best dairy alternative base for an ice cream application. It's delicious.
And what was the intent of starting this company? You mentioned earlier we saw the market need for it way before anyone else. Was it more of this could really work, or is it more of this alternative could really change some lives?
Yeah, so when we first got started, the founder, first off, she formulated the product not because she saw a business opportunity. She formulated the product because her sister had recently been diagnosed by a doctor with severe dairy allergies. She was allergic to gluten, and the doctor was really trying to push her toward a more plant-based lifestyle. So that's really what drove the product to be created. It was only when she was really proud of where the formulation had gotten and started sampling it on a wider swath of people that a Whole Foods buyer, we're based out of Austin, Texas, Whole Foods headquartered. Whole Foods is also headquartered there, and as she was sampling it out in the Austin community, in walked a buyer from Whole Foods, tasted the product, was blown away, and just said, there is no coconut milk-based ice cream on the shelf right now. If you can build a brand around this and put it into packaging, we'll put it on the shelf at Whole Foods. And that's kind of how we got started.
There you go. And so other than cracking that coconut open, what is the biggest challenge that NadaMoo faces right now?
I think right now we face similar issues, to all food companies. We've reached this point where there is so much capital moving into the natural food space, or let's call it even more generally, the better for you food space. And with that capital comes a lot more products. It creates a lot more companies. It creates a lot more Me Too's. It creates a lot of new innovation that maybe the market isn't quite ready for yet, but regardless, they're going to have the opportunity to enter the space because they are well capitalized. And so I think, I do believe that all competition is good. I think it helps leaders rise. But I think there's a bigger challenge here where just like the volume of the amount of products coming into the space, and specific to our category too, it can be really challenging to continue to differentiate yourselves, even though you know how differentiated you are from all the Me Too products that are coming online.
Interesting. I like that a lot. So next question I was going to ask you was refrigeration. That's got to be some high costs. How do you deal and compete with competitors, especially being I guess you've been around since 2005, but competing with someone who's been around for hundreds of years?
Yeah.
How do you compete with those costs?
Well, the truth is, we're still not there yet. We're not. In a world where we see ourselves playing not just in the dairy-free frozen dessert space, but really in the ice cream space in general, we're nowhere near the economies of scale yet as the largest ice cream purveyors in the country. But
I'm gonna stop you there really quick. Economies of scale. Explain that to our viewers.
So really scale has to do with volume. Until you begin to generate a certain amount of volume in a business, and specific here to a food business, you're not going to be able to optimize your input costs. As far as input costs go, we're talking about raw materials. For us, coconut milk is one of several other ingredients that go into our formulation. But with volume comes, lower freight costs, lower manufacturing costs, lower ingredient costs. And so really, as an emerging food company, it's really our job to build that volume so that we can, as we do grow and we do create those economies of scale, we can become even bigger competitors to the larger brands that already occupy a vast majority of the market space.
So Austin, Texas isn't really known for their coconuts. Where are these coconuts grown, and can you walk me through the steps from point A to point B?
Yeah, so a vast majority of the coconuts that are used for commercial use, like in the case of our product, come from Southeast Asia. There's a lot of coconuts in India. It just so happens that in India, it's such a huge part of their domestic diet that they actually don't export yet a significant amount of their coconuts. So I'd say Southeast Asia is probably one of the larger marketplaces to find coconuts that are ready for exportation for food applications. But we as a company, as we think strategically through the future, there are coconuts essentially, just south of the equator, usually just south of the equator, and close to water sources. So on the beach, I'm sure we've all been on beach vacations where you know, someone's climbing up the tree, cutting down that fresh coconut and serving it to you as water. Coconuts thrive and grow wherever the water takes them. And so a lot of those coconut trees may have originated in a market like Southeast Asia. You know, one falls down, floats into the water, you know, floats all the way to, you know, Latin America, you know, sets down there, you know, seeds are kind of planted and given off, and trees begin to grow, coconut trees. So it's a really miraculous product. And I think, you know, whether it's coconut oil or milk or water, we've definitely seen the importance of coconut in the natural food space.
So do you accept the coconuts as a whole? Do you break them down or to get that coconut milk? Or if you do, if you do, what do you do with the excess coconuts inside? Because for anyone that's watching this,
it's a foreign process.
If you've ever tried to organically crack open a coconut, it is difficult. Can you kind of walk me through the steps that we do?
So I mean, without talking too much through the processing of it, I mean, we receive the milk. So we don't. We could. I mean, as we continue to grow and want to find ways to creatively drive our costs down, we could begin taking raw coconuts and processing them into milk ourselves. For the time being and for the size and scale we are right now, we're happy receiving the milk. But we work with suppliers who don't waste. I mean, they really don't waste any aspect of the coconut. They find uses for every single piece of it. Some of it goes into industrial grade coconut oil that actually powers or supplements the power to their manufacturing facilities.
That's impressive.
So I mean, we've seen all sorts of cool stuff in countries and parts of the world that, you know, you would never know how advanced they are. From a processing standpoint and from a manufacturing standpoint. And I think it's really cool. I've been to our facilities. I've seen the process from getting cut down off the tree all the way to, you know, the container of milk that we purchase. And I'm really fascinated. You know, I mean, I'm fascinated by that entire process.
So they come from Southeast Asia to Austin. Now, what brought you to NadaMoo?
So in 2008, I, through a close family friend who was an angel investor in NadaMoo, we were talking over breakfast. I had just moved back from Madrid, Spain, where I worked for a wind power utility, and was trying to find out what I wanted to do next as I re-entered my life in Austin. And I guess after having breakfast that day, he thought that it was a great idea for me to meet the founder of NadaMoo. He was really impressed by her, by the product, loved the brand name, very similar things that I felt once I met her, but he's the one that kind of pushed me to meet her. And I thought it was an interesting enough opportunity. It's not every day you get asked by someone, you know, or that someone tells you should meet with a dairy-free ice cream maker in the city of Austin. And so I was
this great dairy-free ice cream maker you should meet.
Yeah, so I was just so intrigued by it that I decided to take the meeting, and we sat down and tried the maple pecan product. Was the first product I ever put in my mouth, and I was blown away that someone was making such a good ice cream product that had no dairy in it, had no animal products or byproducts in it. And that really excited me. And I saw, I knew they needed help. They were looking to raise some capital. They were looking for some operational help, just someone to jump in, a problem solver, a person who could help them with accounting, a person who could help them with some of their operational process setup. And I left that meeting wanting to help. And that's kind of where it started. They needed to raise capital was the first big problem. And so I actually was facilitated a meeting between my family who had, you know, some capital to invest, and facilitated a meeting between my family and the founder. And long story short, the family decided to invest in the company. And once we had that taken care of, we knew at least they had some capital that would give them a certain amount of runway to continue operating and really continue to chart the path that would allow them to track to their forecast. And at that moment is when I just jumped in headfirst and started to learn the CPG business.
Seems like you made a great choice.
So far so good.
So far so good. Well, I mean, coming from a solar farm, alternative energy,
wind farm,
yeah. Excuse me. It seems like you've aligned some of your values with this position, and you even said yourself, "I wanted to help."
Yeah.
What advice would you give to the next generation coming into the workforce?
Yeah, I mean, we live in a world where I think my generation and the generations that come after us, we're really passionate, or we want to be really passionate about the work that we do every day, and so I'd really advise people to be bigger risk takers and really think about what it is that you want to contribute to the world, and once you kind of figure that out, there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of personal work that needs to be done in that process, but it's something to start thinking about as soon as possible, and once you get a better idea of what that is, or you get a better feel for what it is you're looking for or where you want to provide value, I think that's kind of where you begin to make decisions around how to spend your time and how to invest your time and energy into work. And I think it's an important place to get to ensure that you are doing your best work possible.
Daniel, you're at the helm of NadaMoo. It takes a lot of leadership. What would you say your definition of a real leader is?
I mean, I think leaders come in all different shapes and sizes, and they come from different backgrounds, have different philosophies around what leadership is. Me personally, I've always been a lead by example type of person. So as we build our company, I really find it important for myself to show up to the office every day and grind with the team and show that level of passion and care that really works to inspire the other people that you've brought on board to your company. And so yeah, I think for me, lead by example is extremely important. I think it goes a long way to inspire a world, a generation of people who are really trying to more deeply connect with the work they're doing, with their passions and their values.
Well, Daniel, thanks for coming on the Real Leaders Live today. Folks, go out there, bring that contagious work ethic and lead by example. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Real Leaders Live, here coming from Asheville, North Carolina, at the Mo Summit. Now it's time for a Real Leaders 100 video to follow. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.